All right, good people, we are back. Yeah, if you were paying attention on the social media, I disappeared for 10 days. I have been off the grid. For those of you that are only paying attention on YouTube, we did post shows last week. We had our episode with Dan Carlin from Common Sense Podcast and Hardcore History, because we work. We work even when we're on vacation around here at the Rubin Report, but I was actually off the grid for 10 days, did not check social media, did not look at my Twitter feed, did not look at my email. Once or twice checked emails just to make sure, because there was one little thing that I had to take care of, but besides that, didn't do any of that stuff, completely got off the grid. I didn't look at the news. I did not turn on CNN once, or Fox, or MSNBC, or anything. I did nothing but basically lay on a beach, had some drinks, went fishing, ate fish all week. I was at an undisclosed place somewhere in the United States with family, brother, sister, folks, nieces, nephews, and just completely disconnected. And I got to tell you guys, I really needed it. I needed it just sort of mentally and spiritually and for every other reason. I got a little sun, you might be able to see, although I get a sort of tan. I get a very white person's tan, which is that you get tan that day, or I get red kind of that day, and then I can keep it for maybe 2 days. So I'll be back to my normal whiteness probably tomorrow. So enjoy this while you can. But I really needed, like, we have been working so freaking hard for so freaking long. And there's so many things ramping up all at the same time. And, you know, I had just done that video with PragerU only about 3 weeks ago. And then the night that I left, I took a red eye to get to Florida. So I was in Florida, I'll tell you that much. And about 2 hours before I took the red eye, I was on Tucker Carlson on Fox News, which I'll be happy to talk about in a little bit if you guys want. And it was just like a ramping up of so much stuff. And just, you know, the general political haywireness and being engaged all the time and interacting with people all the time. My brain was ready to explode. It was actually ready to explode. I was right on the explosion line. So I needed a little break. I feel great. I feel refreshed and rejuvenated. I think getting the time off has given me a little mental space to kind of figure out some new things that I want to do with the show and new ways that I want to interact with you guys and some other things I want to do. We had a couple other interesting things happen now that I've kept caught up on emails. People that want to do more stuff with us and some interesting opportunities that have been thrown our way and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to share some stories with you guys. Also, all hell broke loose, apparently. I go away for 10 days. Jesus Christ. I mean, between Milo thing and Trump and CNN and New York Times and the Oscars last night, lordy. Apparently the world doesn't stop just because Dave Rubin gets off the Twitter and the computer there. Anyway, it is happy hour around here. It's about, I think it's around 5:45 on LA time. I have just poured myself, I'm still feeling the warmth, even though it's rainy out here in California right now. This is a vodka, this is a Kettle One and soda with a splash of lime juice. Not only did I squeeze a lime, but also put a splash of lime juice in there. That's what I'll be drinking for the next hour or so, and maybe we'll figure out something else as well. But yeah, I really just wanted to shoot the shit with you guys, get caught up on things, and there we go. So what we will do, because I know that the YouTube comment section on these live streams is particularly zany. So what we will do is we will take questions mostly from Patreon supporters. So it's patreon.com/Rubin Report. And even if you jump in at $1 a month, it'll queue you up and we'll take some questions there. So Amira is going to fire some questions over to me. But more than anything else, I just wanted to talk about being off the grid for a second. And I just wrote my direct message for this week, which has a lot to do with the off the grid thing. But I think it's really becoming more and more important to take these sort of digital detox things. Now, I know I'm somebody that I live online in this way, right? Like I'm doing this on YouTube and on Facebook right now, and I'm always connected and with my phone and all that. But I think for everybody, even if you're not certainly a public person in this space or whatever, this constant need that we're all doing this all the time. And, you know, going out to restaurants and watching people take pictures of their food and click like on immediately on a million different things and all of this, and selfies while people are taking turns in left lanes and crazy things. I think we all need to do this a little bit more. I know how good it's been for my head. I'd love to hear if you guys have done it. A lot of people were asking me today, what was it like? What was it like? You know, people like professional people being like, oh my God, I wish I could do that. Well, anyone can do it. You just got to go ahead and do it for yourself. So yeah, we'll do a little Q&A, and then just the news, man. Oh Lord, it was so nice. The other thing is when you come back after being offline for 10 days or so and not checking, I didn't even check the newspaper. I mean, really nothing. You realize that not only is the world just going on without you, but so much of what you see in the digital space is just such noise. Now, I know this, you guys know this, because I talk about this a lot, that there's a battle now between noise and actual information. There's a battle between truth and fake news and all this stuff, right? Let me get a drink here. Going for a long time. Ah, that's good. And pilfering some truth out of this is becoming work in and of itself. So we all do that work now because we don't trust sort of the institutions that have been here for so long giving us information. So I think that's sort of exhausting. But also immediately when I got back and I looked on Twitter, it felt like I was returning to a mental institution. Like I had escaped a mental institution and now I was coming back. And as of this morning, I unfollowed about 30, 40 people. Just people that I thought either were just giving news or just like irrelevant nonsense that that I've never met, that somehow, you end up just following people and you're not exactly sure why, or you interact with them once and then you follow them or that kind of thing. So some of them, it was nothing personal to any of them. If you're watching and you see that I unfollowed you, it's nothing personal. But I was just like, I got to get rid of some of this noise. And I think I'll systematically do a little bit more of that. And then maybe some of it I'll try to replace with some other interesting people. But just this constant, like I get online and I see immediately, this person making a point about this and this person telling them that they're wrong about this and fighting with this and fighting with that. And it's like we're being slammed with information at an incredibly fast speed these days. And I'm not so sure, and this is what I talk about on the DM on Wednesday, but I'm not so sure that our brains are ready for this kind of information. And constantly, just this need to be right all the time and prove the point to everybody all the time. I don't know that it's really a sane thing to do. It's not what I try to do here when I have a long form conversation with somebody. But that's just me. And there you go. All right, so we're gonna knock out some questions to start. And I'm very excited that you guys are all back and with me, whether you're watching. As I said, we're now live streaming these days. We can do it on YouTube and on Facebook at the same time. So if you're playing along on either one of those and you're playing along on Patreon, we appreciate it. Okay, let's see, here we go. Since the main news outlets seem to get more and more ridiculous, how do you feel about starting your own news agency? People say to me sometimes, Dave, you're the only person that I trust. Someone said that to me I spoke over at UCLA a couple weeks ago with Caylin Rose, who I had on the show recently. I said, Dave, you're the only person I trust. I go, oh man, then we're really fucked if I'm the only person that you trust. First off, there are many other people to trust and to find news from. But not only that, like, I'm just one guy. I'm one guy that happens to be doing this thing. I think I do an okay job of it, and I try to be as honest as I can with you. I definitely don't lie, and I certainly don't intentionally misrepresent what people say. As I say all the time, I make mistakes. By the way, I'm going to do a mea culpa right now. I said one of the stupidest things that I've ever said on the show the week before I left. We had Trey Crowder on, who's the liberal redneck comedian. And we were talking about Jesus, and I don't know what I was thinking. I was half joking, but it was also a total brain fart on my part. I said that Jesus was around a lot of Muslims. It was in a joking context, but yes, Jesus existed before Muslims, about 600 years before Muhammad and all that kind of stuff. It was a completely idiotic thing. And what's hilarious is that as I got back, I saw my Twitter feed blew up. Oh, Rubin he's lying about Christianity and Islam, and he's a libtard, and all these Christians were angry at me. It was a stupid statement that I made. By the way, a couple weeks before that, I had Bishop Barron on, who's from the Archdiocese here in LA, and I got him to kind of hedge his bets on gay marriage a little bit. And he got a ton of hate from more conservative Christians, but I got a lot of great emails from more moderate Christians saying it was so nice to have a conversation like that, and I don't agree with your position, talking about me, on gay marriage, but you treated him respectfully and all that. So it's like some people just want to be outraged all the time, and if you want to live in that world, then so be it. But anyway, I fully retract. For anyone that's out there that monitors what I say all the time and selectively edits my quotes and things of that. And I know there's a few people on the Twitter that are dedicated to doing this and catching me out of context. I fully retract and apologize for my completely idiotic statement that I made about Jesus living the same time around Muslims. Obviously, that was an idiotic and stupid remark. So there you go. Oh, by the way, guys, I want to mention that just so you know, if some of the audio levels go up or down while we're doing this, we're also running a little test in there. As I said, we've been getting new equipment. We got something new coming that we just ordered today that I'm very excited about, that we're going to hopefully get going in the next couple of days. So some of the audio levels might go up. And actually, if you want to help us out while you're doing this test, even though I've got Amira and Logan in there listening, if you notice anything freaking out on audio, is either too high, too low, staticky, whatever, just let us know in the comment section. Somebody said, I love your theme music, Dave. I would definitely drop acid to it. All right, very good. Do people do acid these days? Are people still doing the acid? I don't know about that. I did acid one time. It was a nightmare, horrible experience, just endlessly awful. I know a lot of people like it, but if you're going to do a psychedelic, I would definitely stick to mushrooms. I'm not endorsing any of these things specifically. I have no problem with mushrooms. I did it many times, college age, a little bit after college, and you can open up a lot of doors in your mind. At this point, I'm 40. I'd rather close a couple doors, bolt them shut. I don't need to keep opening these things. Let's see. If you could co-author a book with anyone and on any subject, who and what would you choose? Well, I don't know that I can fully give you an answer on this one because I am in the process of writing a book right now. And, if you know me well enough, you can sort of garner what it basically has to do with. But I think you guys are going to really dig it. And it's a real process. And it's long and painstaking and crazy. Speaking of books, Milo, I guess, doesn't have a book deal anymore. Simon & Schuster dropped him because of this whole craziness that happened last week. We can talk, if any of you have specific questions, I guess we can talk about that. But I would prefer not to focus on that. And by the way, coming back from being off the grid, the news happens for 10 days, right? You get 10 days worth of news. And then at the same time, I got to see what's happening today and going forward. So it's hard to catch up on all these things at once. I heard Trump, I guess, banned CNN and New York Times from the White House press briefings, which in my opinion, obviously as a free speech person and as a press person, if you want to call me a press person or as someone that's in the current events landscape, I think banning reporters and news organizations is terrible. That being said, do CNN and the New York Times do terrible things and have done terrible things and really slanted reporting in a lot of ways? Absolutely. But ultimately, if we give the president the power to pick and choose who can be in that White House press briefing room, this is a big problem because eventually they'll just slowly weed out anyone who says anything bad about them and only have people that are playing up to them. And by the way, as I've said many times, I hope we can get Trump on here. I really think we can. If he's going to lambast the mainstream media all the time, now that's all well and good, and they've done a shitty job, and they're finally being exposed, and watching them try to claw out of it's kind of pathetic, but eventually he's going to have to sit down for some fair interviews, and I would give him a fair interview. So there we go. All right. Let's see. A bunch of people are asking this. When am I getting back into stand-up? Soon, as soon as I have a moment. I got to get on with some of the right comics and do some of the type shows that I want to do. But I am being booked at a lot of colleges right now, and I'm going to try to work a little more stand-up into that, which is sort of something that I've been doing at the gigs that I've been doing so far. By the way, I think I was supposed to speak at USC, if I'm not mistaken, this Thursday, and there was some security issue, and they were going to have to get 2 armed guards or something because I'm very controversial, and with the hate speech and the white supremacy and all that. So I guess we've been postponed because of that. But I do plan on doing a lot more in there. Okay. Given the SJW's attack on PewDiePie, is it PewDiePie or PewDiePie? Do you think that the mainstream media is going to try and go after more influential YouTubers? If so, who will win? I did think about that a little bit this morning when I was catching up on this whole thing. So again, I could only catch up on so much information at once. But again, apparently the PewDiePie on YouTube, who's the biggest YouTuber, I guess, and a video game guy, and I've seen some of his videos, and they're perfectly fine, I guess, and I'd love to have him on the show. He did some silly videos and had people, I guess, in Africa holding up signs about Jews, and apparently he had done a few other Jew jokes. Now, first off, free speech guy. You can say whatever you would like to say. We all know that, okay? We're all good to go there. But not only that, there's a difference between jokes and statements, okay? Just that's beyond the free speech thing, just generally when you want to attack somebody. A joke, now, you could argue maybe his jokes were tasteless, maybe they were bad, maybe there was a twang of of hatred in them or something like that. I'm not saying there were. I'm just saying you could probably argue that if you wanted to. But we cannot be attacking everybody over jokes. The whole purpose of being a comic, and particularly a good comic, is to find the line. What's the line? And get right to it and really make people think. Now, maybe he didn't do anything like that, and I don't know if he really considers himself a comic in any way. But, you know, that he lost a deal, I guess, with Maker Studios, and, you know, that so many people are all over him and all that. It just seems kind of ridiculous to me, and bad news. And by the way, these type of things, they're not censorship in and of themselves. Maker Studios can do whatever they want, right? Simon & Schuster can drop Milo if they want. Maker can drop PewDiePie. PewDiePie? Is it? Someone help me here. Is it PewDiePie or PewDiePie? So that's not censorship in and of itself, but there are censorship-related issues to these things when it comes to someone's ability to make money, because we know that these two people have an audience. And by the way, our episode 2-3 weeks ago with Fleming Rose, the Danish publisher of the Muhammad cartoons, which is an incredible discussion, I hope you guys have checked it out, about free speech and tolerance and intolerance and a series of other things, YouTube demonetized that. They do not let us make money on that video. I think we're going to fight that, and we'll see what happens. But there was nothing close to hate speech in there. There was nothing close to anything that wouldn't be okay to be on network television and to be okay for an advertiser to lay a commercial over. We're talking about free speech and having a pretty, you know, vanilla conversation about these things. There was no anger or anything like that, or certainly no hatred or bigotry or racism or anything gross or anything like that. Which also, by the way, is one of the reasons that for us to do what we do here, that's why Patreon is so important to us, because I can't be beholden. If every video that I did, I'd have to think, oh man, is YouTube going to demonetize us if we talk about this or that or whatever? And the things that they do demonetize often are some of the things that we talk about a lot, free speech and Islam and a few of these other things, right? So if I was completely beholden on that, it wouldn't be that they were censoring me, but we would start self-censoring ourselves, as many other channels have had to do if our whole livelihood was made off the YouTube money. So that is one of the reasons we're on Patreon, and that's why I'm so appreciative of those of you that hook us up over there. Let's see. Dave, didn't you take time off during Christmas? It's only been 2 months. What's going on? Well, I did take time off during Christmas, and we posted videos too. And then the only time that I took off before that, I think, was last May, when I locked my phone in a safe and I went away for a belated honeymoon. I just think it's incredibly important to do these things when you can. And for the nature of being on YouTube and Facebook and all these things, as long as we put out videos at those same times, you guys don't miss a beat. Not that I'm contractually obligated to do anything, but I want us to always be putting out content. It is PewDiePie. All right, there we go. Oh, so I guess Trump ate a steak. He had a well-done steak with ketchup. Not how I like steaks. I like a nice rare steak. You give me a rare, or I could maybe do a medium rare. Depends on the cut. Like if I'm having a filet mignon, I want it rare. If I was having maybe a ribeye on the bone, I would do medium rare. But apparently he had ketchup on it and he likes it well done, and people are freaking out. You're allowed to eat steak however you want. And you know, if you're going to be outraged about it, of course you make all the jokes you want about it. It's all good. But these are the types of things you want to be outraged. I saw literal things, people being outraged about this. You're going to be outraged about this. You're feeding the monster. You're taking every valid criticism of him, such as banning people from the White House press briefings, and you're making them look silly. And that's why, so I see all these people, these over-the-top screaming people about the resistance. They really think they're in the Rebel Alliance fighting the Imperial Empire. And it's like, tone it down, people. You know, as I say often, the best way to stop Trump, if you don't like Trump, is to actually believe in the Constitution and fight for those institutions to be strengthened. Because if we fight for the institutions to be strengthened, then we have checks and balances. We have ways for the executive branch not to become a massive, powerful monarchy. Okay, that's what Congress and the judiciary branch are for. So these are reasons that you could basically scroll back some of the powers that we've given the executive branch, but to just relentlessly fight the results of democracy, I think, is not the wisest thing in the world. Let's see, we got a whole bunch here. As a thrilled supporter, I got another text here as I was saying it. I was curious your thoughts about on a longer format for your interviews. So one of the beautiful things that we have now is because that I'm in a home studio, which you guys on Patreon, and if you've donated on PayPal, it's rubinreport.com/donate. If you've donated, and if you've become a monthly patron member, you've given us this ability to have this studio here, and we really don't have time restrictions. I usually find that after about an hour, and we've done the last few interviews that we've had, I think have gone a bit more. I think with Dan Carlin last week, which I really enjoyed, I think we did about an hour 20. He also stayed on and we did some Patreon exclusive stuff. But I usually find that between an hour and max an hour 20, you've sort of hit the main points of a conversation with almost anyone. Now, there's certain people that I could talk to that you could do. Look, Rogan does these interviews. I've been on Rogan twice. I think last time, which was the day before, right before the election, we did about 3.5 hours nonstop. It's a different format, and I totally respect it. And you guys know how much I appreciate Joe and think how great he is, and we'll get him in here whenever he has some time. But I usually think about an hour is about right. Now, in some cases now that we can do it, we are going to extend past that. And I'm going to start doing some other things with guests, some other little fun things, maybe some rapid fire Q&A stuff that we're doing on Patreon with guests and other things like that. But yes, of course, if when I had Sam Harrison last time, the first time I did about an hour with him, this time the plan was to do an hour. He actually said to me, right before we started, if you want to go longer, that's fine. And we did 2 hours, and he was still willing to stay for a third hour. But I felt that he's done enough for me. I'm very appreciative of all that. So so we're going to extend beyond that. We're also going to be doing more with this new Skype thing that we've got, which you may have seen on our post-election day coverage, where I had that guy T and Chris Raygun, where we can get a couple people Skyping us at once right now. I could have 3 or 4 guests at once in different boxes, and I think that's how we may use some of that for our next fan show, which we're going to do soon, by the way, which I'll send you the link to submit on that. We got thousands of responses last time. It was great. Beautiful day where I got to talk to 20 people all over the world. It was very, very cool. And we're doing a YouTube week, which we're taping this week, and it'll be up in a week or so. And I don't want to tease any of it. I think some of you have figured out some of the people that we're doing. But 5 days in a row with YouTubers, full interviews to be posted at once. Okay. This is a good one. Have I heard anything from the Pharaoh? Is he still in prison? So for those of you that don't know, when we did our last YouTube week, I talked to the last Pharaoh on, it's my friend Joe, who's in Egypt. You can find him in The Last Pharaoh on YouTube. Search our interview. And he's a great guy. He's a 31, I believe. He is a free thinker in Egypt, an atheist, who, when we decided to do the show, when he decided to do it, I said to him, if you don't want to put your face on, if you want to wear a Spider-Man mask, I don't want you to get in any trouble because of this. He said, no, I want to be out there and I need to be out there to do this. Apparently a couple of months ago now, he was arrested. It's a little unclear what he was arrested for. It sounds like maybe it was a trumped up charge or just nonsense altogether. I've done a little research and a little digging behind the scenes to try to figure out what's going on. I don't know what's happened to him. But last we heard, he was in prison. He's a great guy, and I highly recommend you check out his channel. And he had such just a beautiful spirit, living in a really hard place to live in. And I hope he's all right. I really do. Really love the show with Bishop Barron. You should try to get more religious people. I'm sick of the new atheists. Well, I am going to have more people of faith in general. The funny thing is that I sort of slid into talking about religion and atheism it was never really my intention to talk about it. But I did at the beginning of the show when we started this about 1.5 years ago, I did have at first a whole bunch of atheists on, obviously Sam and Peter Boghossian and Michael Shermer, and I think Ayan Hirsi Ali is an atheist, and a few other people like that. People who I enjoy talking to a lot. And then we had less people of faith, although I did have some. I had Dinesh D'Souza on, and we've now had Bishop Barron on, and we had Andrew Klavan on, and now Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager and blah, blah. So I've had people all over the political sphere and the belief sphere and all that. It's not a hugely important thing to me. Where if you believe whatever you want, as I say all the time, and as long as you don't try to legislate that and make me believe what you believe, then I don't care what you believe. But I do like mixing it up all the time. A lot of times I see people tweeting at me angrily, you're a new atheist. First off, I don't even know what that means. I think it means just an atheist who speaks up every now and again. I don't think anyone's being killed in the name of new atheism. But it's not even that important for me to talk about, but I'm happy to talk about it if people want to. But yeah, I'll get some new people in, talk about faith, talk about lack of faith or whatever. What do you say to your critics who worry that you aren't hard enough on your guests? Look, first off, I don't mind criticism at all. I actually like it. Look, my style of interviewing, which I'm sure will evolve, by the way. I think I'm pretty good at this. I hope people enjoy what I'm doing. But I'm not perfect at it. But I always go in, I try to go in with an open mind and really understand what somebody's thinking. Now, you can watch any other show. Turn on cable news, watch a gajillion other interview style shows. They usually don't do long form like we do here. But you watch a gajillion other shows where people are just fighting, where they're arguing, where the second says someone says something they don't like, the interviewer attacks them, blah, blah, blah. I'm a firm believer and I want to hear what these people think. So for example, I had Bishop Barron on, right, from the Archdiocese of LA. This guy's a very powerful, influential person in the Catholic Church. Am I going to get him across for me and get him to be like, you know what, Dave, I thought about it. You seem like a nice fella. I'm down with gay marriage. No, that's never going to happen. So what am I going to do? Do you want me to sit here and lambaste the guy and attack him? No, I want to hear what he thinks about this. I think I got respect from him. And more importantly than that, I got a ton of emails and tweets and comments from Christians all over the country and actually the world saying that was such a nice conversation. It was so nice to have him talk to somebody that isn't from the same walk of life as he is and enjoy an interaction and a go-between. And that, I think, is how you build bridges, not by attacking everybody. So my policy on that generally is that I let my guests speak. I think that, I actually get a lot out of asking a question in a certain way. And then, by the way, I barely look at my notes. What do I always say at the end of probably 8 out of 10 shows? It's a great interview if I don't have to look at my notes ever. And that's what I try to do. I try to listen and then go on to the next logical thing. Every now and again, there's a moment where I have to look down on something because I need to quote something or something really specific that I have to hit on. But as far as being harder, look, if you let somebody talk and you really let them explain their logic, my general sense is that, as I say all the time, they'll eventually tie a rope around their neck and they'll hang themselves. I think this is also why I've had a harder time getting progressives on the show, because conservatives, from the type of people that I've talked to, when I've had Prager on and Shapiro and Larry Elder and a couple other people, there's a real through line to their logic. Now, you may not agree with the conclusions that they come to, but I usually find them to be pretty consistent in the way that they argue. Progressives, because it has a lot more to do with feelings, on any given issue, there isn't as much of a consistency. So I don't think they like arguing points, which is why they're into blocking people and deplatforming people and not debating people. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've asked Gavin Newsom to come on the show. Thousands of people retweeted it. He didn't respond. It was after he had called Milo a white nationalist, which I said, I don't think there's any evidence of that. You can say what you want about Milo, but I don't think he's a white nationalist. I asked that girl from MTV who did that white person video to come on. She blocked me. I wanted to have the girl from Leslie Jones from Ghostbusters. She blocked me, et cetera, et cetera. So these people don't really, I've tried a million different ways to get Bernie Sanders. Apparently he doesn't want to do it. I'll keep trying. But to the heart of the question, which is, asking harder questions or things like that, at the end of the day, if you don't like what I do, you don't have to watch. That's okay. You don't have to tweet at me all day about it, though. That's fine, too. But if you want to, that's all right. This is interesting. What do you think of Dan Carlin's pragmatic approach to politics versus the strict adherence to political ideology that we currently see from both sides? So I really enjoyed talking to Dan, and I hope that if you haven't seen it, that you'll get a chance to take a look. He strikes me as a real realist. He's a political realist. And what that comes with is there's a certain exhaustion there. I think I'm a realist, a pragmatist. And when you are those things, and when you believe in logic and reason, it's a little harder to get everybody ginned up with hatred all the time and get everybody angry and screaming and all that. And what both sides have done right now, I mean, really, look what is happening on the left. The hysteria constantly now that is coming out of the left right now. This is a huge problem. How do you engage people if their whole plan is either to destroy the presidency or take down the country or whatever else they want to do? And they're just screaming Hitler and bigot and racist. How do you say to them, no, we got to sit down and come to some answers? So all of these congressmen that didn't show up to the inauguration, or Trump's going to give a big speech to Congress and they're already planning, I think, to interrupt him and bring people there and do all this stuff. It's like, this isn't what politics is about. Nobody wants this nonsense. And by the way, Trump's not exempt from this at all. I don't know if you saw this. I just saw the tweet this morning, but I guess a couple days ago when the Democrats elected the new leader of the party, and it's Tom Perez, who's a former Obama guy. And Trump tweeted something about how congratulations to Tom Perez. I'm so excited the whole Republican Party is, or something to that effect, implying like this guy's a loser or something. And Tom Perez immediately retweets it and says, we're going to be your worst nightmare. This is not what people want on either side. People don't want the president to say that, and they don't want the opposition to say that. Nobody wants this. This is games for clicks and nonsense bullshit, and we got to be better than that. And we are the silent majority, and we just got to figure out how to focus, I think. How does Bernie Sanders buy his socialist bullshit? I used to like him because his heart's in the right place, but he's got to know his economics don't work. I think I basically was saying this about Bernie the whole time. I think he is a decent man. I think he is a very decent fella, and I hope that I'll get to sit down with him at some point. I know he doesn't really like being interviewed by people that might be of a different political persuasion than him. But I think he's probably a very decent man. I don't think he wants to hurt people. I don't think he wants to go to endless wars and all that stuff. And he wants social justice. He wants fairness and all of these. These are ideas. Look at Bernie Sanders' Twitter feed. It looks like this fantasy thing. Like there's nothing ever based in reality. It all feels good. Say this and rich people shouldn't do this and everyone should be equal and blah, blah. It's not saying anything. It's not based in the reality that Dan Carlin, who was sitting across from me, was based in. And I think that's a real problem. By the way, I don't buy into the Bernie economic stuff, which was my biggest problem with him. I don't. I think that basically capitalism, for its flaws, has given more goodness to the world and spread more freedom and individual liberty than any other system that there is. Look at the countries that are capitalist countries, and you have the opportunity to find something for yourself. That's why everyone comes here. They don't leave here. So you see all these people screaming about how horrible and racist and the nightmare of the patriarchy that is America. And also we should let everyone in to share in this horribleness. It doesn't even make sense. But these people aren't that bright, generally, is how it works. What's your view on, let's skip that one for a second. You know what, give me something that's not necessarily political too. Having just taken 10 days off social media, can you speak on the difference between the political climate of online versus offline? Great question. So I really tried not to talk politics that much. As I said, I was with family and, I'd meet people on the beach. People would say, well, what do you do? Or if I was at a bar or whatever, what do you do? And people then want to talk politics. And I find wherever I am, if I go to Starbucks and someone sees me, they want to talk politics or whatever. So people want that all the time. And I'm happy to do it. And I love this. This is what I do. This is my life. I chose it. I'm happy with it. But when I'm on vacation, I wanted a little break from all the nonsense. But what it did make me realize when I came back to Twitter this morning, and then looked around just the general online stuff, Facebook, whatever, is that there's so much screaming that it's just irrelevant. It's just people banging at their computers all day long. Well, like, grow up, everybody. Calm down and grow up. So offline, I think people are much more measured. I think I took a taxi to get from the condo I was at to the airport. I had a great discussion with a Florida vet who's now a taxi driver about politics down South Florida, where I thought everyone was Republican and he was actually a Democrat. And we had a great political discussion about all kinds of things. And he said that he's in this group of vets. They're all Republicans. He's the one Democrat, and he's always attacking Trump, and all his Republican friends are defending Trump. And we just had this really wonderful discussion about stuff. I think in person, people are much more measured. They're much more sane. They're not going to say the shit. Everyone's saying all this awful shit on Twitter to people that they would never have the balls to say in real life. Then you also have the anonymous, the furries and the rabbits and the green frogs that are saying things that they would never say in real life. I don't have a problem with any of it. You do whatever the hell you want to do. But I think in general, people are better in person than they are online. But as for the online-offline thing, I think it's hard to see how much of the online thing actually affects the offline thing. Now, I know because I think the way we've treated this show and the type of people I've had on and what I'm trying to do with this, that we've now started, I see this, people telling me they're starting college kids, I'm starting a group at school about classical liberalism, or I see people saying, teachers emailing me saying, we showed this clip of your show to show this idea or that idea, that we actually are doing something, I think, that is important. I like to believe this is important. I have to believe it's important. I do believe it. And I'm trying, and I will consistently try to do it without the endless clutter. We only have so much room in our brains, and I promise that I'll keep trying to do that. But I think online is a little more vicious than offline. Oh, people are asking what I'm drinking. Did I not say it up front? I think I did. I'm having a vodka soda with lime juice. So I got like some organic lime juice. This is LA. I think it has to be organic by law. That's a joke. And a splash of that. And that's over some ice there. It's on the rocks, as they say. Who are some upcoming guests that we can look forward to seeing on your show? I don't like to tip off too much with guests, though we're booked, I think, for the next 2 months already. And we're going to start doing some more live streams with guests also. I think that'll be the next step. But I don't like tipping off too much. There's a couple reasons on that. Let's see. Did I happen to see Crowder and Rogan fight over marijuana on Rogan's podcast? Any thoughts? I didn't see that, but I can suspect by that Rogan obviously was 100% for it, for legalization on every front, and Crowder is not. If I'm not mistaken, Crowder's okay with medical marijuana, but let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that. My feelings on this, I'm pretty sure I would agree with Rogan on this completely. I am 100% obviously for medical marijuana. What right would another person have to tell you if you were sick or in pain or had cancer or Parkinson's or some other debilitating disease or epileptic fits or anything else, or lack of appetite for any other reason, or any reason, to say, no, you cannot do this, whatever it is. Marijuana is going to make you hungry. It's going to get rid of the epilepsy, get rid of a headache, or potentially shrink a tumor, or any of this stuff. What right would another human being have to say, no, you can't do that, is number one. Number two, it naturally grows from the earth. So what the hell are you talking about? But number one is the most important one. If there is something that you can do for your health to alleviate pain, and someone else will not let you do that, I see this is about your right to control your life, which again is a liberal principle. Everyone thinks it's a libertarian principle, but it's a liberal principle. As for recreational, I'm 100% okay with recreational marijuana as well. We have alcohol, which is far more dangerous than marijuana. We know that. There are a gajillion health studies on that and behavioral studies on that. But I would at least entertain that argument with somebody. The medical argument, I think, is ridiculous, but I would have the conversation with somebody. But I'd like to know I'll watch the clip and find out what was what. All right, we're gonna go about 15 more minutes, so we'll do a cool hour on this baby. So you can throw out a couple more questions for me. Oh, this is a good one. How are your liberal friends reacting to your transformation? Well, I don't know that I've transformed that much, but I think, as I've said, my liberal principles, the things that I've always believed in, gay marriage, that I'm pro-choice, I'm against the death penalty, I'm for euthanasia, I'm for strong publicly funded education, I do believe that there should be some social safety net, and a series of other things that are liberal principles. I haven't changed on those. The left has gone bananas. The left is no longer liberal. Watch my video on it from a couple weeks ago, aptly titled, "The Left is No Longer Liberal." The left now has become authoritarian. It's about collectivism and judging people as groups, not as the individual. I was mentioning this to Amira when we were doing a test before, that think about JFK, who was sort of the standard bearer for American liberalism. I think could have been the greatest liberal president we ever had if he hadn't been assassinated. His quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Do you think anyone on the left would say that today? That you should do for your country? No, what would the left say now? It would say, ask not what you can do for your country, but your country should give you shit, give you free shit. The country should give you more stuff. That's not a liberal principle. The left is not liberal anymore. Liberalism is live and let live. That's the core of liberalism. And by the way, check out my interview with Tucker Carlson. Tucker is coming on the show, by the way, so I will give you one. I don't like to tease too many, but Tucker is coming on the show. We're gonna have him live in studio. But live and let live really is a liberal principle, and that is not what is coming out of the left right now. So I do find it easier at the moment to build bridges with people on the right than I am having to build bridges with people on the left. I mean, just look at the Islam issue is the simplest way to explain this. If you were to look at who the reformers are, guys like Faisal Saeed Al-Matar, who's my friend, who's been on the show many times, and Majid Nawaz and Asra Nomani, and several of these people who are liberals, they are liberals trying to reform their faith. Sarah Hayter, although she's ex-Muslim, several other people, Ali Rizvi. Who are they getting shit from? Are they getting shit from the right or from the left? They're getting shit from the left because the left views these people as this collective monolith. This is the reverse of liberalism. And this is why it's hard to build bridges with people, A, who won't talk to you, who want to label everyone against them as a homophobic, Islamophobic, woman-hating racist. But it's a huge problem. And so I don't know that I've had a transformation as much as maybe I've seen the light of what's been happening here. I have to say that it is particularly rewarding that that the stuff that we've been talking about here, that you guys, I know our channel has grown tremendously in the last 2 months. In the last month alone, we have, I think, over 40,000 subscribers in the last 30 days, which is awesome. It took us like a year and a half to get 100,000 subscribers. We're now about to crack 400 after we just cracked 300,000 like 2 months ago. I think we'll crack 400 next week. So the growth has been amazing, and it's because we've sort of been ahead of the curve on all this stuff that's rising up to the mainstream right now. And I'm very proud of that, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you guys were here kind of cheering me on. It's pretty awesome. Do you think Trump will go after states that have legalized weed? So Trump said something about weed, so I'm not 100% sure what it is. Again, I would be 100% against that. I think it should be a state's rights issue. I'm always for more local control. I would want to be governed by the people who locally control me more than feds, hundreds or thousands of miles away. So I don't know exactly what Trump said, so I can't comment on what the specifics of what he said was. I would be for every state making their choice, which is what a lot of states have done now, and we have now legalized medicinally here in California. Is it recreational even here in California? I voted for it, I think. What's that? Yeah, it's becoming recreational here. I would kick it back to the states. I would never want, which is for the feds to then come in and start closing down dispensaries which are legal in those states, which, by the way, Barack Obama did a lot. Even one of the dispensaries near my old house was shut down, even though it was legal in the state with which it was in. And again, that's a reason to be against federal power. Where do you think the left get their sense of superiority from, and why do people still take them seriously? I mean, when you keep saying that it's so effective. It really is so effective. And I get so many emails about this. People that when you've won the culture war, and everyone, I was watching the Oscars last night, and all these people who always say that, they say everyone else is racist, right? The right is racist. But it's all these people on the left that are always talking about race and racism and all of these things and judging how many people of this color won this and how many people of that color won that. And still I saw people saying, well, still don't have enough women, or there wasn't enough black people, or there wasn't enough Latinos, and all these things. How about we don't judge by the color of the skin, but of the content of the character? Who was it that said that? Somebody, slips my mind at the moment. So they get their moral superiority because the left has sort of won the culture war. I think that's turning right now, which is really, really interesting. And I would love to see just a strong center. Most people are live and let live. Most people at their core don't care what you do with your life as long as you don't impede on their life. And I think that's a much better way to live. Do I think that the transgender school bathrooms should be a state issue? So I know, again, this is something that happened over the last couple of days. I haven't read exactly what Trump did yet. So generally speaking, do I think it should be a states' rights issue? My basic answer would be yes, because I think that these types of issues should be dealt with at the local level. Because look, at the end of the day, there is a difference between the type of person that probably lives in the city of San Francisco versus a rural part in Alabama. And if you don't like what's happening in your neck of the woods, then you can use your foot vote. As Randy Barnett, who I had on the show, who's a constitutional law professor over at Georgetown, said, you can use your foot vote to move somewhere else and take your economics, your money, your family, the value you bring to your community and move somewhere else. And eventually that's how you can change attitudes, because people won't stay in those places that are maybe deemed backwards or whatever it is. So I know that that's a hard thing to say because it doesn't feel like we're always running around protecting everybody. But I don't think that every opportunity to protect somebody is also a good idea as an excuse for the government to overreach. But I don't know what the specifics are in terms of what Trump did already, or didn't do, so I'm not totally sure. Um, what do you think of the Southern Poverty Law Center putting Majid Nawaz and Ayaan Hirsi Ali on the same list as the KKK? Fucking absolutely ridiculous. If you don't know this, this is actually true. They put them on this anti-Muslim extremist list. Majid is still Muslim and he's trying to reform the faith from inside. And I think he's so on point about so much. I don't know really anyone in the public space that I agree with on more, really, than Majid. He's also had it with the left and makes the distinction that the left is no longer liberal. And Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who underwent female genital mutilation, who was going to be married to a cousin in Somalia, whose friend Theo Van Gogh was murdered on the street, and they put a note saying, Ayaan, we're coming for you next, who rose up to be a Dutch politician who now fights against Islamism and for actual women's rights, that she's put on a hate list is absurd, and the Southern Poverty Law Center can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. Aren't you generalizing the left as well? There's still a lot of true leftists out there. Look, this is an interesting point because I've spent the last year and a half, what did I do? I tried to relentlessly say that this isn't all of the left, this is the regressive left. When I was talking about these issues, these people who judge as a collective, these people who throw out these words and deplatform and don't fight for free speech, and who are for illiberal practices when they're in the name of certain religions, and all of this stuff. I spent 2 years of my life making that distinction. The shift that I've had now is that I now believe that the left as an institution, it's hard to really define exactly what that is, and all of these words and definitions are changing now because there's so much political upheaval because of Trump. But I truly believe that the left as it stands is no longer liberal. The people that identify as on the left are no longer liberal. If you're liberal now, you're not on the left anymore. But again, this is a little wordy and a little, we don't have to define everything so specifically. But if you're on the left and you think you're liberal, well, then you should look at what your comrades are on the left and decide if you're part of what they are. And I would suspect that you probably don't. Okay. Let's see. Are you at all worried that you could compromise your ability to interview people on the left by interviewing people they disagree with? Well, I guess at some level, because I get this all, oh, you had Milo on, you had Cernovich on, you had Paul Joseph Watson on, I'm not going to do that show. All right, don't do it. So go, stick with your echo chamber. I'm happy to sit down with people. It's all good. That's okay. All right, we got about 8 minutes left. Do you think that, let's see. Last drug experience, what was it? What did you learn? I mean, the only thing that I do at this point is I smoke some weed. I don't even smoke that often. I've mentioned this before, maybe once every week or 2 weeks. I have like a puff of weed and I watch The Simpsons or Seinfeld, the same things that I watched back in 1992. Yeah, and I like an indica because it relaxes you and doesn't give you the mental high, which I have no need for the mental high at this point. When I was on with Rogan, he actually smoked weed in the middle and he offered if I wanted to smoke, but I had no need to get stoned in the middle of that thing, and God only knows what would have come out of my mouth. Let's see. Did you play Sonic the Hedgehog growing up, and what did you think of him? Yeah, I did play Sonic. Sega Genesis. So I have an old school Nintendo. You guys may have seen this, and we'll do some videos with it. But I went back to my parents' house a couple months ago, and I found my childhood Nintendo Entertainment System from 1985. This thing hasn't worked in 15 years. I took it apart, cleaned it with rubbing alcohol, and it's working now. I've got Super Mario, I've got Duck Hunt, I've got Contra, I got Life Force, I got Bases Loaded, I got baseball, I got pro wrestling, I got Legend of Zelda 2, whole bunch of things in there. And we're going to do some more live streaming stuff with that. So that was like the system that woke me up to video games, and I just thought it was the greatest thing ever, and I spent so many years of my life playing that thing. Sega Genesis was my like middle school and on video game system where I was mostly into the sports games, but I loved Sonic. Ghouls and Ghosts is a spectacular game that's on Sega Genesis. I do have a Sega Genesis around here also, by the way. But yeah, I did love Sonic. I had Sonic 2 where you split screen with Tails and all that stuff. What do you think of the Women's March being led by Linda Sarsour? I mean, go check out, you can find them, some of her tweets that she sent to Ayaan Hirsi Ali about taking away her vagina, a woman who underwent female genital mutilation, her tweets that are pro-Sharia law, and then look at Bernie Sanders saying that I stand with Linda, and some of these other people, Van Jones and the rest of them. These are not liberal principles. Female genital mutilation is not a liberal principle. These are leftist things now because the left holds Islam at the highest point of its oppression Olympics. It's a regressive ideology that's not good for women or gays or non-believers or often for Muslim people. And to say that is not against Muslim people in any way. By the way, if you're Muslim and watching this, I would treat you as an individual just as I would treat anybody else. And I would believe that all people believe the opportunity for the same exact freedoms. But the left has now fetishized Islam to the point that they take something that would be against all of their progressive values, whatever they think their progressive values are for women and gays and minorities, blah, blah, and that's the height of that's the most important thing. It's the pinnacle of their little pyramid of oppression Olympics. It's such drivel. Why do you block people on Twitter? So for the first couple of years on Twitter, I didn't block anybody. I did not block anybody. My Twitter now, over the last couple of months especially, has blown up to the point where my feed is insane. It's actually insane. It's endlessly people tweeting at me, retweeting me. It's all good. I would say 90% of what people say to me all day long is good. But I do block people. If you relentlessly tweet hate at me, if you lie about me, or misquote me intentionally, or just fight with people all the time and tag me, eventually I will block you. And by the way, that's not a free speech thing. I'm not stopping you from speaking. I'm stopping you from using, I don't have to care about what you're saying. And I'm also stopping you, I guess, from interacting with some of my people that you just want to fight with. It's just not fun. It's not fun. That's my own personal choice. By the way, there are people that Ben Shapiro sat here. This guy gets more hate than anybody. And he said he's never blocked anybody. It's just a personal choice, but I'm not stopping anyone's freedom. But if you relentlessly just attack me and you're just a dick about it, like you want to engage me in a thoughtful way, and I might respond and I might talk about it on the show. Here in this hour, I've addressed some criticism of myself. I'm not above that, and I don't think that's such a big deal. But generally, I block people that are dicks. Okay, 5 minutes left. When are you going to get an outspoken regressive leftist on the show? As I said, I have asked many people. By the way, I've had several people with a lot of regressive tendencies. I don't announce it. I don't sit there and go, you're a regressive leftist, you motherfucker. I don't do that. But I allow them to say, I treat them with the exact same respect I would treat people that are on the right who I might disagree with some stuff on or agree with some stuff on. And if you look at our guest list, most of our guest list has been actual liberals. Then there have been plenty of libertarians and some conservatives, but I've had a whole bunch of people that I would consider regressive in a lot of respects, some of them fairly recently, but you have to look. I don't go out of my way to insult them. Guess what? People then wouldn't want to come back. Let's see. Do you still think there are some people labeled as progressive that completely are sort of for individual liberty, however, just want to debate government's role regulating the economy? Well, I would assume that there are some people all over walks of life. And as I said, the label thing is getting tiresome. But yes, I suppose you could be progressive and be for some level of individual. I don't know that you can be progressive and for individual liberty. I don't see that as a real thing, actually. So I don't know that I can give an answer to that. Dream debate to moderate. Well, I would say this. Ben Shapiro, I think, is a spectacular debater and so clear in his thinking, whether you agree with him or not. And clearly I disagree with him on some things. Watch both of our interviews to see what. I think he's a great debater, and I'd love to get him with some leftist that would hold their own. And I don't know who that person is. If you know who they are, please do let me know. And let's see. Where did you get that airplane poster? A lot of people ask me this airplane poster over here, which I absolutely love. It's called Spaceships from JPL. What's JPL? From the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, right there. That's right. And by the way, some of our other artwork over here, and the one that's above me over here is CaylinRoseJanet.com. CAIYLIN RoseJanet.com. And I think you can buy prints over there too on that stuff. Okay. Let's wrap up with one more good one. Amira, give me one more good one, and then we're gonna wrap up. And by the way, we've already taped some stuff for this week. We got, as I said, we're gonna do a fan show in a couple of weeks. We got YouTube week coming. I'm planning on doing some more news stuff. We got a whole bunch of interesting stuff. I think you can tell I feel rejuvenated and refreshed right now, and I'm looking forward to what we're building here. I'm so excited. I mean, just looking at our numbers have just been through the roof. Our watch time last month, I was just checking this, our watch time last month was about 12 minutes per video. That is unheard of on YouTube. That is a credit to you guys, because people on YouTube, if you watch 5 seconds on YouTube, a lot of channels would think that's good. And this is why we don't play the clickbait game. I don't want useless views just so I can say I have a lot of views. We know that I could play that game, right? We came from a network that plays that game a lot, so we know how to do it. I don't want to do the show that way. So we know that in certain cases we could title and tag things and use thumbnails that would trick more people to watch these things, and the quality of our views would go down, and it's not the game that I want to play. So we sacrifice a certain amount of views to do what I think is right, and I'm very proud of that. Okay, let's see. Is it not contradicting at times to believe in religious freedoms and liberal values when someone's religious beliefs could go against the rights of other people? Yeah, I've addressed this with a couple of people. I've talked about, this is something that I talked about with Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager and a few other people, Bishop Barron, so that my policy is, I don't care what your religious beliefs are, as they don't impede on my life, my laws, my ability to live under secular laws, which we're governed by secular laws. So gay marriage is an interesting one here, because think about it. There were religious institutions, most notably the Mormon Church, that were putting money towards Prop 8 because they didn't want gay marriage to pass. Now, so they're in a way, they're acting as a political organization, but they're also tax exempt because they're a religious organization. Now, that's not fair and that's not cool, and I don't like that. I think there are several lawsuits right now going on around that. But you are allowed to believe whatever you want privately. Now, look, you could also vote. You could have let's say your religious belief was that gay marriage is not good. Now, you could vote for people that are against gay marriage. Now, I would not like your reasoning for that, and I would try to convince you that two women or two men should be allowed to enter the same contract that a man and a woman would be allowed to enter, because we live under secular laws, and people should be able to do that. That's a libertarian principle. That's a liberal principle, and I would try to convince someone of it that way. But I can't stop what you do privately in your vote. You're allowed to vote whatever you want. So that is an issue, and I genuinely don't think most people care about it at this point. I really believe that gay marriage got passed. And I don't think that, first off, none of the things that people said was bad that was going to happen. Families will be destroyed, and Sodom and Gomorrah, and blah, blah, blah. Guess what? You allowed gay people to be involved in relationships with someone that they loved, that they wanted to be involved in, and it probably got them away from a lot of the activities that you feared about the gay community. So, and it probably got a lot of people doing less drugs and all kinds of other things. So I think that issue, I think just generally people don't care. I really believe that. I think, yes, a certain amount of people do care, but I don't see a huge amount of people. I mean, where are they? Where are the people on the right? When I see all these people on the left say, well, about gay marriage and LGBT rights and all that. Well, LGBT people have rights. We're treated equally under the law now. And when things change for the better, you have to change accordingly, and you can't always fight the old battles if you can't acknowledge that some good things have happened. So, you got to evolve as the time evolves with you. Anyway, always fun talking to you guys. Thank you for playing along. If you do want priority on our next Q&A, join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Rubin Report. And I think you're going to dig the show this week. And that's all for me. And hopefully I can keep a little bit of this tan for the next couple of days, but we shall see. Thanks for playing along, everybody. All right, ciao.